As you may or may not know by now, from the massive catalog of videos I've uploaded in my time as a YouTuber, I take dancing very seriously. And today, I'm going to use my know-how to convert each of the 10 dancing tips from the channel Steezy's video in an applicable use on Dance Rush. Before you start this video, I pretty much demand that you watch the video by Steezy first, as I won't be going over what they say word for word. I'm just going to directly interpret the advice they give for you to use whenever you hit the arcade. I'm kind of stealing their content anyways, so it's the least you can do. If you don't know how to count music, I also highly recommend watching their tutorial on that as well, as you'll find it 1,000 times easier to understand what I'm talking about in some of these steps. I'll leave a link in the description below, as well as links to any of the videos you see here. Obviously, most of the footage you're going to see won't confine someone to a bright 5x7 grid, but come on. This is the simplest to understand, but one of the harder things to master about dancing. Sure, stepping in on quarter beats is easy peasy, that's Rhythm 101, but what separates this from this is advancing your rhythmic capabilities. For those of you who are here to push yourselves to do more creative things with your charts, finding a consistent rhythm stems far beyond than exclusively the quarter notes dictated by the BPM of the song. Being able to keep your body in sync with those quarter notes while dancing to 8th, 12th, or even 16th notes can really set you apart from the competition, and the more you develop that skill, the further you can push yourself. For beginners, just keep bouncing your knees to those hard thumping sounds and you'll start to be able to feel the song in no time. I'm combining these two because I think anything I could say about one could apply to the other. They're rather broad in saying to simply not lock your limbs, when in actuality, they mean to loosen up. How does that make sense? Let me do my best to explain. Locking your limbs super duper tight is what gives you a forced look. You want to be able to dance without everyone looking at you like you're running 1,000 equations in your head in between every motion. But you also need to have a lot of control over your motions and nail strong angles, poses, and positions. Loosening up allows you to have the control over your body to commit to every motion, but still have enough wiggle room to bounce and float in between your movements. The feeling is very difficult to visualize, but if you've ever seen anyone who is too stiff, you can tell from miles away. If you're worried about how you look, but don't quite know if the way you feel dancing is correct or not, I highly suggest spending some time learning choreography, recording yourself, feel disgusted, and fine-tune every little thing you can about your movements. Those little nuances go a long way in making your dancing feel more natural. I cannot agree with this advice more. In fact, I would encourage all of you watching this video to incorporate dancing into your everyday motions. Walking, cleaning, cooking, showering, writing, eating, you get the idea. Despite exaggerating your emotions when you do these things, not only will it be way more fun and tolerable, but it's way faster and somehow way less energy consuming. Get a feel for these types of things, and you can start importing the dishwashing dance into Dance Rush. Dance is an expression, and even if it's a bit goofy, you can always do it with a bigger backlog of moves to pull from. So start expressing with the monotony of chores, and eventually you'll start expressing with the monotony of romance, or something. This, hands down, is the biggest struggle that the mass majority of Dance Rush players have. The chart tells us to move with our feet. That's it. But the key word is control here. If you're having trouble with your stagnant hands weighing you down, or your wacky, wailing, inflatable, flailing arm tubes killing the flavor of your routine, generic choreography would be a great, simple, and effective start. Dance Central and Dance Evolution are great for this, as they teach you to treat one limb as an individual, otherwise you score poorly. Alternatively, just watch a favorite routine online and slow it down to learn step by step. Either of those two work, Making movement as methodical as possible until it becomes second nature is the strongest step you could take towards being a better dancer. I'm having a lot of trouble with this myself. However, that's the simple way to do it. If you want an easy but far more flexible option, I would highly recommend just watching character animations and still poses. Seriously. Animation is meant to personify a character exclusively through visualization. This is a take from YouTuber New Frame Plus's 20-minute video on pose design.
Pose design is super important for character animation. When you think about it, an animated performance is basically just a succession of poses, characters moving from one pose to the next one to the next one. It's easiest to see this in action when you watch television animation, which has to keep things efficient for budget reasons. See, check this out. Pose, 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 and pose.
It seems silly, but paying attention to your favorite animated shows closely can drive your ability to express yourself through dance, whether you don't know what to do with your hands, or you do but you can't seem to keep them under control. Moving them intentionally and thoughtfully is an absolute requirement to overcoming this obnoxious hurdle. This specific tip will be divided into two parts. Part A. Have you ever seen someone try to mosh to smooth jazz or perform ballet to bangarang? Have you ever seen someone try to break to children singing?
I will reach my goal. I will soar like an eagle and reach the sky. I will achieve. Onward and upward because yes, I can.
Well, now you have. That was weird and uncomfortable to watch. Now, obviously I'm not comparing every out-of-place Dance Rush player to that douchebag. I'm just hammering a point here. The point being, it's important to match the genre that you're dancing to. That doesn't mean that you have to dance that exact style. That limits your expression. What's better for you to do instead is to incorporate elements of yourself into that style of dance. Express your take on electro swing, or bass house, or neurofunk, or breaks. The key to matching the mood of the music isn't to confine yourself to the restrictions of a specific dance style. It's instead to capture its essence while elements of yourself become mixed in with it. Part B. No one's gonna like me for this, but I don't think going super hard at the beginning of Crazy Shuffle works very well with the song. I don't think going super hard during the lull of any song works very well. And I will stick by that until the day that I die. A common but not well-known problem that I see amongst Dance Rush players is that there is a complete lack of tonal control. Why does that matter? Allow me to explain with a pseudo-scientific graph that I drew up in Microsoft Paint. This is typically how you want your routines to feel. From USA to Luka Luka Night Fever to every b-boy routine ever to the best dancers on this planet, striking a strong contrast between your technique and your secret crowd-pleasing weapons gives your performance more character. If you're like this, and you're only going hard the entire chart, you leave little room for subtlety, flavor, and personality. Sure, all of the shufflers you see on YouTube are super clean. But if you watched all of them back to back, would any of them really stand out? The best way I could put this is like that guy you knew in high school who could only do backflips. It was pretty cool the first time. On the other hand, if you're like this, you have the flexibility to express your personality, but you won't have the ability to capitalize on it if you don't shift gears into stronger motions and more captivating moves. Of course, I'm not expecting you to do backflips, no. Of course, I want you to find something that works best for you. But it's undoubtedly beneficial to add in something spicy. Something that alters the pace and expectations of your viewers. Even the most flavorful of routines can get stale if you've experienced it a dozen times. I don't have much to say about this. If I know the Dance Rush community for anything, it's that you guys don't give up. Ever. Moving on. Outside of the obvious, which is keeping your body in good condition, there's one very vital thing I have to say about dancing as a whole. Dancing is literally telling your body to do things it isn't supposed to do. You have to practice consistently to brute force your brain into accepting whatever it is you are trying to do, which takes a lot of time and effort. If you tell yourself, I won't be able to do that, your brain will respond with, yeah, man, I guess you're right. Seriously, don't give up. Ever. Moving on. This is where I start to lose some of you, because I'm going to tell you this right now. You will have to start memorizing your charts a little more. I'm sure all of you would like the freedom to dance on the pad without the recording of you having your head locked fiendishly onto the screen to not drop your combo. By lifting this restriction, you allow yourself as a dancer to use your surroundings and environment to your advantage, creating a visual space for your routines. And no, I'm not talking about physical space where you don't run into people. I'm talking about your body, as it's dancing, to be able to weave together a picture that your audience can experience. I know it sounds kind of pretentious, but trust me, the best dancers are capable of creating an atmosphere with their emotions alone, regardless if music is playing. Yeah, sure, when you start taking your eyes off the screen, you're probably gonna drop combos the first few times around, but from my experience, every time I wanted to try some new things I wasn't comfortable with integrating into Dance Rush yet, my score plummeted. But I stuck with it, got more acquainted with the new routine, my score would go back up, I would think of something new, and the process repeats itself.